Alright, we're not getting any nice music today, apparently. Going back to jazz. Also, hi guys. I just got off a job interview thing, so we're gonna de stress with some drawing. And I'm gonna pick something to work on. I think what I'm gonna do is work on some future Burning Reeds pages first, and then go over and start drawing for Welcome Home. Fingers crossed on the job. This is the second job I got an interview for, and my job ends next week. So I'm trying to stay positive, also trying not to panic, you know? But, you know, good vibes. We're gonna try to end this week on a good note. A lot of bad things have happened this week. But for now, we're gonna focus on some good things and work on him. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up the line art for him, and then we're going to probably move over to that Welcome Home sketch that I did a while back. Or we can do some more of that Welcome Home thing that I was working on. Honestly, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Manlin, he is going to be extra flirty. You don't even know what he's going to be saying. Also, I am working on the next The Navigator's Week White chapter. Because now that work is finally slowing down, I can start focusing on my other projects besides Burning Reeds. And that'll be fun. For curls, I normally like doing the darker color first, which is why you see me doing this dark orange. And a lot of it is really just doing implications of shapes, which is what I'm doing here. Also, definitely isn't Call to the Stars. This is much more adult themes going on in this story. Or I'm gonna try to get to that point anyway. This is a very slow build, just because pages take so long to make. And I'm thinking of saving cover art for special occasions. That way we can save time and also get pages out faster. Yeah, after this page, I am going to start doing a sort of in past section, and that is about here. So after this page, oh, you can't even see it. All right, after this page right here is when we start moving into a black and white section. That is going to be referencing a certain Twin Peaks scene. If anyone's a fan of that, it's from Twin Peaks The Return. This whole section's gonna pay homage to that. There's gonna be a fun little thing going on here. I forgot to add the reference. Also, for those of you joining in who's never seen me sketch out stuff before, it really is just that. Just a bunch of sketches of things. I'm thinking of making the eyes here the main focal point, because this is supposed to be a scary shot. This is the main vibe so far. And then we're gonna have an eye close up here, and then a faraway shot here to show the scene. And then we cut back to the present in this shot. I'm actually surprised at how fast I'm making these now, because look how much we got done now. We got so many, and we have enough for until the start of February. And then once I finish this page up here, I can post that, and that'll be the first page for February. Super fun. Alright, where was I? Alright, we're gonna finish up his line art. Also, hopefully, or I guess, sort of hopefully before the break starts, I'm hopefully getting the last piece I need for this computer to work, because this computer I got was for free, which was great at the time, but then apparently I'm missing several like really important pieces in order for it to work. So this last piece coming in is hopefully the last one I'll need. Which is why I haven't done any video games or anything yet after moving, like I promised I would. It's been a whole pain in the ass thing, but we're gonna overcome it, guys. This is the key to patience right now. And I'll have a proper typewriter too. Keyboard. Look, I have one. And I have a monitor, and I have the drive, and I have Wi-Fi. Now I just need a actual, like, the disk part for inside. It's technically a hard drive / monitor hookup thing, but hopefully that's the last thing I need. And then I can start playing games. Okay, our next step is going to be adding the little details to the dress. These are little blue branches that sort of come out from the hip. Oop. Oh, I did it again. A lot of things with branches is usually just implication of shape. If you zoom in here, you can see that the branches aren't even connecting to each other. It's just the impression of it. Because I want these to look more like flower branches rather than tree branches. And the way I do it, tree branches are normally like these like dark shapes, like what I'm doing here. Like these sort of like solid shapes right here, but with flower branches, I like having them segmented to kind of give the impression of flower buds. And also to help show like there's a difference between the two. And then we're gonna add random smaller branches, sort of like skimming off and sort of like bleeding into the dress. And the next step, I'm just gonna give the little belt a slight impression, just to kind of help give it a bit of a separation from the background. And then same thing over here. And then I'm going to do the same thing just for the underside of the sleeve. Like that. And then for the rest of the dress, I'm going to make it orange to kind of separate between the skin of his back and the dress. Line color itself is as important as the lining of the blocks that you're using for your art. See that? Because it helps him pop out from the black background of what he's laying on, and also helps give the end of his skin its own color as well. That's also why I vary between using dark blue and orange for his skin outline for like his hands and stuff, because it depends on what the scene requires. Because if you see on his face, I'm using a dark blue right here to line his face, just because it's a darker part of the shot. But with stuff like the shoulder and like the like separation between him and the dress, that's in a brighter spot, and thus that will need to be highlighted more. And also his hands are solid black, so an orange outline will help them pop out as well. This is also why I like shading first before adding the line art, because shape of shading helps me figure out how I want to define the arm as well. Because you see how when I shaded down here and under the hand, it made this sort of like dark, this light blue curve. Not light blue, but like lighter than the stuff around it. That helps me figure out where I want the shoulder muscle to go, which is going to be this right here. Once I start going back in and defining this. That's looking a bit too much like a thumb for his pinky, so we're going to go back in and sort of curve that out so it looks like the bottom of his hand. And then just go back to what we were doing. Okay. And then last little hand hook right here. And then the thumb is going up. I also I like adding this line because it helps give the simple shape a bit of more of a definement. And I'm going to add that to his hands as well to kind of define the knuckle part. It might not look like much, but it does help it come a long way once you start rendering. Okay, that's done. Now I'm gonna do a little line here to help separate the forearm from the back of the arm. And then same thing over here because the arms are folded. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add little back freckles. Both orange ones and black ones. Just at random spots to kind of give his skin a bit of its own character. And they're always random, save for two certain spots, because his skin likes to move around more. The way I like to do moles and freckles is give them the same pattern as like stars or constellations. Or at least the impression of that's what I'm doing. And there we go, there's his back. And I'm probably gonna make the shadow of his spine a bit darker on this side once I render that out. But for now, we're gonna go over here and give his little crow's feet some outline as well. And for this, I'm gonna do a blue. Oop, that didn't look right. So we're gonna tone that. Yeah, his dress here is a reference to the Hitchcock film Rear Window, because I really loved the main woman's dress in that. And also because it helps, it's sort of like a reference to the Blue Reeds that he was a part of for so long in Chapter 1. And I just thought it was a nice little callback. And also he's got a little thing on his leg. Little thing on his leg here to sort of resemble the binding that happened. But for now, we're gonna go back in and give that a bit of its own depth. We're gonna come here. We're now gonna start following the lines of the shading to kind of help with the texture. Because for the dress, I wanted it to look a bit sort of like insect wings, kind of a callback to how I drew his sort of freedom scene he had in Chapter 1, where he was all billowy smoke with these little textures coming out. And we're just gonna do that for the rest of the dress. And then once we're done with the line art for his body, we are going to be adding the abstract brush because that adds such a nice texture to everything. You know, it's funny. The first job I got an interview for was for being an assistant teacher. And they actually let me go in there and spend time with the kids, and then they kind of ghosted me until, like, yesterday almost, where I was like, hey, do you want me to come back in again on Friday or whatever? And then they were just like, oh, sorry, we found someone more, better for the position. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But on the inside, I'm like, oh, why didn't you say something earlier? The job market's rough, guys. It's rough. Alright. And now I gotta add his little head string. Oop. Alright, now we can start having fun with it. And I'm gonna use the abstract brush here. Yeah, I'm just tired, guys. I'm so tired. I'm working my butt off here, and it feels like it's not... Like, I know it's worth something, you know? But Yeah, it doesn't matter if you have a good outlook sometimes. It's like sometimes it just catches up with you, you know? But that's why it's so important to stay positive. Alright, I'm gonna smooth this out. And we're gonna add some stray white lines to kind of give it a wispier look. Or wispier feel, I should say. Just sort of add these lines to give the impression of the dress sort of like doing its own thing, just like he is. Yeah, you should make this dress. You should make all the outfits I make. Okay, next step is giving the hay some texture, because he's laying on hay right here. And I need to give it its own little design as well. Okay, I drew hay for this shot right here, and I really like how the lines turned out, like this little sort of stick texture I did. So I'm gonna incorporate that here as well. Just in random spots to kind of give the impression of the straw sticking out. And then a bit on the floor. Having fun little bits. It really is just grabbing from other parts of the color and putting those onto the different parts that you have. Because I grabbed the color I'm using now, this dark brown, from this spot, and I moved it up here. And then I grabbed this, and I moved it down here. It's a lot of playing with the color theory of it that makes it look nice. And then same thing on this side. I'm gonna grab from this darker color right here and move it somewhere else. All right, and then I'm gonna abstract this as well. Just a little bit. And then it will very faintly give it texture that I really like. Just on these little bits sticking up behind him. And then we're gonna mess with the gradient right here. Alright, I like color dodge. I usually do. So I'm going to lower the opacity just a bit. And that looks good. Next step is the overall rendering of the piece. I think what I want is a nice sort of light going across his back right here, and then the rest is sort of shaded. So I'm going to try using... Yeah, I can't stand when they put Christmas music in it. Alright, and then I am gonna try... Let's try like a light sort of purple for now. And then I'm going to sort of loosely follow the shape that's on top. A lot of this comes from just years of studying shapes and how light behaves on certain surfaces. Because what you see me doing here right now is me sort of figuring out where the light would be hitting him in this shot, or where I want the light to be hitting him. And a lot of that is going to be focused on his back because that's the focal point. And then I'm going to be vaguely following the shape of his back, sort of following this little curve I have here of the main body. And then I'm going to fill it in and then just work on the smaller bits. So like right here for the muscle bit, and then probably on the side of his face over here. Probably give his little cheek a bit of highlight. And then probably for the under bit of his eye right here. And probably like a little tiny piece right here. And I'm just going to bring the shape out more to sort of fill in where his temple is. Okay. And then let's try doing a bit on his hand. I know black doesn't usually work, but we're going to try it anyway. We're going to see what happens. And if not, we can always do that on another layer. Because I like doing highlights in like separate layers because I like experimenting with what the shape does and sort of how it behaves with other colors. I'm going to add a little bit of chromic aberration because I like how it makes certain highlights look because the colors behave with each other differently. And now we're going to cycle through and see what happens. A lot of it really is just eyeballing it. Alright, seems like it behaves best with overlay, but I don't like it. So I think what I'm going to do is change the color. So I'm going to go up to saturation, brightness, and then I'm going to mess with the color a bit. Probably, let's try like a hot pink for now. And let's try that again. Alright, it's a bit better, but also not quite what I want. So we're gonna go back in and mess with the color again. Let's try a green. That's kind of doing something. That kind of works, but also not quite what I want. So I think what I'm going to do is just get rid of this entirely, perhaps. Or just straight up make it a brighter color. Alright, there we go. This is starting to do it better. Okay, I'm going to keep this. Because as you can see, it's not fighting the colors I already have. If anything, it's adding to them. You see that nice shading right here? However, it looks bad on the back, so I'm just gonna erase this part right here. No harm done. But I'm gonna leave the end bits because that gives it a nice sort of like side shading along the line. So I think I'm gonna keep it like that. I'll also smooth this one out a bit. Just barely. Yeah, like I said, a lot of it is just babying the shapes. Figuring out how certain colors like to play together, what ones don't like to play together, that kind of thing. It really is a lot of experimenting, because even now I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Alright, next step is the shadow. Hey honey. Welcome to another little art thing we're doing. Alright guys, what I'm doing now is doing the same thing I did for the highlight, and now we're just going to do that for the shading. Just following the shapes vaguely of like where you want the shadow to go. Oh, I did that on the wrong layer, so now we gotta get rid of everything. Alright, now it's a separate layer. Yeah, that's another thing. Always make sure you're checking your layers so you don't accidentally combine anything. Now let's try sort of giving the big shape its own shadow over here. And this spot right here has a lot of lines, so I kind of want to make that a bit darker. Alright, the legs are fine. I like how that leg looks. So let's see what this does. Alright, I don't like it. So we're gonna fuck around with color and find out. Let's try blue. Alright, blue seems to work. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna soften the shading now. Patreon's basically getting exclusive content to stuff that hasn't come out yet. For example, a lot of the updates on pages, stuff I don't even share on the Discord. Like you can get like, you can put in like art requests and stuff. You know, stuff that I normally wouldn't do for like Discord or like in general. Yeah, for example, I'm posting this whole page to Patreon after this stream. So you can see the whole thing rather than this one panel. Alright. I like that. So now, what I'm going to do is give the shape, the piece, its overall shadow. which is sort of like the overall way I want the lighting and shadow to be read. And then I lower that to a very low opacity. And look at that. There we go. See how easy that was? It's a lot of, like, I guess technically I work backwards just because that's the way I learned it by practicing so much. I do the main highlights first, right here. And then I did the back. You guys saw me do the back with like a nice blue. And then in here for the harder shadows. And then after that, I did an overall highlight line and with the shadows. And that's how this happened. Also, once that's done, you can start kind of playing with the light a bit. What I'm doing now is going back in and sort of adding light brush to other parts that kind of got lost along the way. For example, his eye light right here. So I'm just going to be going back in and giving him that back. This eye's fine. I like how this turned out. But we also got to give his pupil back too, which I use with a regular pen. Oop, not that. Alright, and then I'm going to give his teeth a little bit of orange. Very thin, because it's teeth. Very thin lines. And then I'm going to do a quick little experiment on the back to see if I can fix this little contour thing going on here. I'm going to add a quick little thing of lines just to kind of see what I am working with here. Don't like that, so we're going to get rid of it. And I'm going to use a sort of softer brush to give that back. What I'm trying to do right now is add sort of highlight to where his shoulder blade would be. And also the dip of his back, give that some shading. Yeah, I have an older one where you have to plug it in, but this one hasn't failed me yet. I do have to keep replacing the nib occasionally because I draw so much it's starting to wear down again. But I've been trying to make them last. Alright, now I can add little light things to kind of give the sky some haze, if that makes any sense. Like little dust particles, I guess you could say. Alright, I gotta make these bigger and also a darker color. Alright, let's try this. Oh, I do have an Amazon wish list. Just for in general, if you guys want me to send that. I got two technically. One for like sort of houseware necessities and the other for decoration. Okay, I'll send that over later. That would actually be a big help. Because my apartment is barren. Also, guys, while I'm here, I want to show you a little thing I like to do, which is like give a line to the eyelash. But it also depends on where you put it. So like, for example, this is too low on the eyelash because it hides the pupil. What I like to do is add it just above that line and also in a thinner line where it meets at the ends of the corners. It keeps the eye line right here to help save the pupil color that you had going on and also adds this nice little separation between the two. I'm very, very faintly adding these lines to the hair as well, just to kind of help give it its glowy effect back. Alright, there we go. He is sort of done. Almost done. I'm gonna try to add something to the top of the dress, sort of see how that works with each other. Because I want to try giving it sort of like a rim light effect, almost. Rim light is sort of like a highlight on the very side of the shape. I'm doing it in these choppy sort of dot lines because his feet are supposed to be gnarled. And let's just see what that does. Alright, that kind of works. However, it's too bright, so we're going to lower the opacity. Or what we could do is sort of mess with the overall thing I had going on. Or actually, you know what we could do? We could just sort of blur it. Maybe. That does not work, so I'm gonna probably be messing with the color of it. Same thing I did for the highlights and stuff. Well, okay, it did not have the desired effect, so we're just gonna get rid of it. Alright, and he's ready to go. So I'm gonna be posting this whole picture on Patreon later. But for right now, I think what I can work on is that welcome home piece that I started before Halloween. But he looks good. I really like this pose. Alright, next step, we are going to go back to our roots. Not our roots. We're going to be going back over here and we're going to start going away at this. I've drawn this guy so much. So many times. So it really should come as second nature to draw his face shape, but still, it's always important to look at your references. Alright, I think the eyes are too far apart. That might be the problem here. I've found that eyes are like the most sensitive part to draw on a face because one slight move and it is a completely different character, I feel. Which is why you always gotta be super careful with where you put eyes on a piece. I also think it might help benefit if I make these a bit bigger. I could probably stream this tomorrow, actually. Like me coloring this, I mean. And he sort of has his hands on his knees here. His face still looks a bit off, so I'm going to be messing with his head a bit. Holes are kind of a harder thing for me to draw, just because they can be so challenging. Oh yeah, this shot right here is going to be a bit of a Parasite reference. Never saw the movie, but I have seen the shot of his head sticking out from the stairs. Also, there are going to be some nice little fall leaves lying around. Probably a poppy feather. His eyes are going to be pretty defined here once I start. Yeah, they're gonna be probably like tree roots reaching into the ground. It's gonna be a reference to that one picture I did a while back of Wally walking out of the woods and pointing at the camera. If you guys remember that. He's probably gonna be the only, like, nicely colored person in the picture. Let's just pretend these are trees back here. Actually, let's have him holding something. Let's have him holding a little fall leaf. And then he's gonna probably either be looking at that or the camera. Actually, let's keep this for now. This is going to be a very dark hole. You can't really see the bottom in here, so I'm adding these lines to kind of remind myself that this is a very shaded spot. Alright, his eyes are looking too malicious, I should say. We gotta soften this out. Alright, that's kind of doing it. And then it's kind of leaning a bit, so we're going to take the whole head and we're just going to kind of warp it out to kind of fill itself out again. There we go. And as always, I accidentally made the head too big, so we're going to shrink it down a bit. Alright. And there we go. Look how much we got done. Alright, there was the first draft. And here's the second. His head is definitely off, but I'm gonna fix that later. Right now, I'm probably gonna stop the stream because I am tired. And it's around that time. But I'm glad everyone could make it. I'm glad everyone could make it. If possible, please come join Patreon. I really need this support this winter, guys. Like, now more than ever. If not, then please come and commission me. You can contact me through Tumblr and Twitter. Same name as here on TikTok, but I'm gonna go get some rest. Also, thank you, Neon. But I'll probably be posting more later on today. Probably another animatic for something I've been working on. But I'll see you guys later.